Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to get underway with game number 3 between PPK and Team Atlantis. It's currently a 2-0 lead for PPK. And after that last game, Atlantis really have to step things up to bring it back towards their favor. It was not a good draft by them at all, and they paid the price for it when the game got underway.
Yeah, for sure. In the first game, it was really back and forth. There were a lot of situations where Atlantis could have just made a few different decisions and been able to take the game in that way. But game 2 was different in that way. It was just PPK being proactive around the map, Blomsterfin snowballing on the Camille, and there weren't really any ways where I saw Atlantis able to come back.
There's a couple of moments you mentioned where PPK actually messed up or didn't make the most advantage of the things they had in their playbook on their second map, yet still they came out so dominatingly on top. Things like their Corky package is just not really getting used.
Absolutely. I think that PPK played a good game. Obviously, they won versus Atlantis, so of course they're a good team. But there's still a lot of things they need to think about. The Corky packages, just picking them up whenever they spawn and going out on the map as Eternity did, and then kind of holding on to it, kind of going towards top lane, kind of going towards bottom lane, and then letting it time out. Twice this happens. Of course, Eternity still did well, but I think it was on the back of Finn. Finn was the one who made the big plays. Finn was the one that forced the back line of Atlantis just to back out of every single fight, which meant that the front line and the back line of PPK could just focus onto one target at a time while Finn did the rest. It was a very messy fight they had that Finn again salvaged. So again, big props to Finn. I think he did a really good game. For the rest of the team, they did well. But if they want to win versus Atlantis and take this all the way, they need to have that control in every single lane and not only in the top lane.
PPK's engage for the last 2 games has all been on Flash Skarner ultimates. Is that something you can simply ban or pick away and then just have them stranded? Or what else do you think PPK may be able to switch into there seamlessly and replace with that Skarner?
I think that Atlantis had a really good plan in game 1, get the Olaf, which is a beneficial matchup for him, and then go for something like a Tahm Kench in the support role, pretty much negating the potential for Skarner to ultimate anyone else but the Tahm Kench himself. I think that is a good plan if they want to go for that once more, because we're really seeing that as the Chronos go-to. He's so confident on this Skarner, and I mean, you can honestly see why. It's not too hard to flash and impale someone. Like, I could do that, well, not at this level. But
you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Henning could play in this tournament if only he had Skarner and ultimate.
Could flash ulti someone. I'm not saying I would do a good job, but I think I could flash ulti someone.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll leave that there. As for if Aesthetic perhaps took Skarner this time around, what's Kronos on Olaf like? Could he easily just switch that matchup and still be as confident and still be comfortable on it, or is that Skarner really a crutch pick for him?
I think he could definitely pilot the Olaf. He's been playing it earlier on in the tournament. I don't think he would be as confident. I do think that Skarner is really his go-to pick that he's the most confident with at the moment. I do want to see Aesthetic bring out something a bit different, though, because we've been seeing 2 games in a row now that both Svene and Aesthetic has been on these big tanks. They've been on the likes of Asana and Olaf last time. Aesthetic has been playing Olaf twice. I would love to see him on more of a carry-oriented champion. And it's not like there aren't carry junglers in the meta. Kha'Zix is very strong at the moment. There's also someone like a Jax that you can bring out. Nidalee was played in the LCS. Lee Sin has been played in the big leagues, although I don't think that's going to be a strong pick right now.
He did hover Lee Sin in the last ban.
He did hover Lee Sin, so I would love to see Aesthetic on more of a carry jungler than the Olaf.
I can agree with that. We saw him, as you say, you picked the Olaf, and you say the Olaf is a strong matchup against the Skarner. Yes, he had jungle control at some points, but that never really seemed to slow the Skarner down. He took some camps, but lost some of his own, and didn't seem to really take control. So yeah, perhaps a carry jungler, or just another jungler that can do more to punish that Skarner early on, or just be more of an impact later on, because the Olaf really wasn't in a lot of those last couple of fights. So interesting to watch and see. Anything else you want to see change through the bot lane? We've seen a couple of different variations now. We've seen a Corki in mid as well as the Azir twice, but anything there that really screams that needs a change?
I think the mid laners are solid. In the bottom side, I would have loved to see Atlantis go for a more aggressive support to punish the Karma. They blind pick a Karma on PPK. There are the likes of Alistar was banned, but there are the likes of a Thresh or even a Leona, if you're feeling crazy, that can come in and punish that Karma in the 2v2 lane. Would have loved to see that Nami also punishes the Karma, but in a slightly different way. But with the attention that the rest of the map gave towards the bottom lane, Nami was not able to punish the Karma too much. So if PPK blind picks support once more, I would love to see Lion go with an aggressive support to counter that out.
I do have to give him a little bit of credit from Atlantis. I could see where the Nami thought came in, because yes, it didn't do great things in the lane, but it definitely was there to slow down and to disengage from that Skarner engage, which it did on multiple occasions, but there was still a Camille to deal with, in which case it was too little too late. So yeah, maybe they're playing into Skarner again. You can see the logic behind the Nami, but you need to get control of that top lane first as well. So there's a lot of different holes that you need to see patched here in the ban phase from Atlantis. They are, as you can now see, all back in their seats and should be underway with the pick vans very, very shortly. Looking through everyone that's been banned on out from the previous games, Swain, Cassiopeia, and Nivea is the one that you guys have pointed out the last couple of times as being a little bit out there compared to some of the others on this list. Why is that?
Nivea's not considered as strong of a champion. Sure, he has really good wave control after level 6 and a lot of good zoning with those walls, but she's not the big damage threat that you're expecting to see from someone like Azir, from someone like Corki. It's going to be consistent damage throughout, and Nivea is kind of inconsistent, not that large amount of damage as some of the other metagame mid laners that are high priority.
Well, let's see how they pick and ban it as this game gets underway.
We are indeed in pick and bans, and as we just talked about, Swain, he is one of the first bans that goes. Team Atlantis as well has gone for the Galio and the Kai'Sa bans as well.
The Kai'Sa has been off the table all 3 times banned by Team Atlantis, which is interesting. Let's see what the game plan is going to be for them in the pick ban, though. They do not have the ability to last pick a top laner for Svene. And with how the game's been going so far, I would sure expect PPK to save that last pick for Finn, get a beneficial top lane matchup. So Atlantis just picking a solid Sion or something early on could definitely be a strong choice. Caitlyn, also a strong choice when it comes to those early rotations. What is Cookie going to play up against this? Ezreal has been his choice, but there's also Varus and Tristana, which I think are great champions here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Caitlyn, again, being the priority pick for Raphael, as Skarner has been banned versus Kronos. We talked about it, and finally, there is the ban. No more Flash Ultimates for Kronos, unless he goes for something else. The Flash Ultimates, obviously. Ezreal being the go-to for Cookie for the 3rd time in a row, has really been performing on his Ezreal. And the Camille insta-lock for PPK's Finn up towards the top lane.
Should mention that possibility of that Camille going over to Kronos, but I'm like 95% sure that's a Finn Camille. Big question that's standing out now, what does Svenny want to play up against this? Gnar is a pick that can keep the Camille down early on in the laning phase, can get a lot of ranged harassment down, and then still be relevant in the later stages. So Gnar would not be a bad pick at all for Svenny right now. Might not work too well with the team comp, so instead they go with the Ornn.
Ornn pick for Svenny again, and I like the way that Svenny plays around these big initiate tanks for up to his top lane. Instead of going with the duelist, instead he goes for the big team fight initiators. As Atlantis in game 1, let's not forget they had good laning. They could have gone for more fights, and they were disengaged a lot of time versus PPK instead. Now PPK going for the Olaf you mentioned earlier.
This is going to be a jungle carry for Aesthetic. I'm almost sure he's going to go for one of the picks I mentioned. Kha'Zix is going to be up there for him. Nidalee is going to be up there for him, especially together with the Caitlyn. So really looking forward to see what Aesthetic chooses to go for in the jungle. So far, mid laners have been receiving a lot of attention in the bans, but none in the picks so far. So if Atlantis wants to ban out the mid laners, it could be a strong choice to limit the champion pool of Eternity. Something like a Taliyah would be very strong in combination with a Camille. So I'd love to see a Taliyah ban from Atlantis, or if it's not ban, a quick pickup for PPK.
Trundle ban by PPK, followed up by the Janna ban from Team Atlantis. We're a little bit about the disengage ability from the champion. Here comes Jarvan ban as well for PPK. This is both Trundle and Jarvan now. They have the Camille for the top lane. They have the Ezreal for bottom lane. Both have been working so well for the team. Last ban now finally for Team Atlantis, and it's the Taric.
I'd love to see a Taliyah here once more towards the mid lane. Azir is a possibility to steal that away from Krogson, who otherwise would love to go for that pick. And why is Taliyah so good with a Camille? It's because you have so much potential to help the side lane, and also because how the hookshot works with a wall that Taliyah puts down. But let's not talk anymore about that, because there's a Corki getting locked in. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Eternity had a good game on Corki last time around.
This time, though, I want to see more focus around the packages and actually have the entire team work around them, because the way that Eternity used the packages for game 2, it kind of felt a little bit like solo queue-ish. You just pick it up and you ask, is anybody wanting me to use this? Can I go anywhere with this before you actually look for it? They gotta set it up. And here comes the carry jungler you mentioned. It's a Kha'Zix for the jungle.
Really happy to see this aesthetic putting on the pressure. He's been on the supportive jungler, or not really a supportive jungler, but a tank jungler in Olaf twice in a row. And now, with their tournament lives on the line, he's going to go towards the Kha'Zix. Such a strong assassinating champion, able to shut down enemy champions, especially around the bushes on the map where he can use that invisibility. With the Ryze rounding out the comp for Team Atlantis, the support pick is still there for PPK. An Ardent support would not be too terrible of a choice. Karma worked out well last time, and with the Corki as well, having that extra usability of the Ardent is going to be a really good thing for them. So I would love to see an Ardent support here. Tahm Kench is going to be denying a lot of the potential from someone like Aesthetic, though. It will give them less laning pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. So down the bottom lane, Eternity, or Cookie rather, together with Kerp, with the Ezreal and Tahm Kench, very safe. And let's not forget that in Game 2, they actually, with Ezreal and Karma, managed to force a heal from Team Atlantis bot lane, so they have a strong laning as well. But now for this one, much more defensive versus, yet again, the Caitlyn, but for the first time for Team Atlantis in this series, it's the Braum.
Yeah, Caitlyn Braum, lane with long range, they can put down a lot of pressure. What do you reckon, Panky?
I mean, you asked for it and you got it, and a more aggressive carry jungler now coming out for Atlantis. We'll see whether or not it's too little too late, or if they can actually start to turn this series around now, because of course it is all to play for Atlantis. They are down 0-2. PPK comfortably winning those first 2 games, are on the verge of victory. Atlantis have got to make something happen here. Is this the composition for them to do it? It's got a lot of things that you asked for in that ban phase.
It's got some of the things I asked for. What it does not have is a way to deal with the Camille once more. They let the Camille go through the pick phase. Goes over to Finn. Yet again, Svenny goes to a very similar champion as last time with the Ornn. Might have a slightly easier time up against the Camille, but I don't see PPK. I don't see Atlantis, having a way to deal with this Camille unless Aesthetic goes absolutely huge on this Kha'Zix. So I still have to say that just because of the top lane picks, I like PPK's chances.
All right, we'll see how that shapes up, and whether perhaps the Kha'Zix spends a lot of his time in that top lane trying to shut her down. Might not work, we'll see. We're going into game number 3. PPK could win it all right here. Let's find out as the game gets underway. And we'll be back as we have had another immediate pause. So we'll talk a little bit more about the matchup. So I said, the possibilities of Kha'Zix perhaps camping that top lane with Ornn, as you say, is a very tanky, very defensive top laner. Is there kill potential if Kha'Zix spends his time all up there against the Camille, or is she just going to run away and happily survive a 2v1?
Camille does have the hookshot, which is a great escape tool. If that's on cooldown, though, if there is a way for Svenny to bait that ability to being used, it has quite a long cooldown early on. So if Static can come in when there is no hookshot for the Camille, that is definitely an opportunity. That is something I could see. I would love to see some bottom lane focus as well, though, because they have a strong matchup into the bottom side. I'm not sure I like the Tahm Kench pick together with the Ezreal. You have very little laning presence early on for PPK there.
All right, they have unpaused. Let's get it away and again. Once more, game number 3, PPK looking to take it all. Atlantis trying to start a comeback. Let's get it underway.
Let's have a look and see what we shall see as we are, again, for the 3rd time, onto the Summoner's Rift. Atlantis versus PPK with everything on the line for Atlantis as they are down 2-0.
If not everything on the line, at least 150,000 kroner, 100,000 to the winners and 50k to the second placing team, as well as 2 spots in the European Cup, which of course will go to both of these teams, but the seeding in the European Cup will of course depend on who wins this game. Cookie starting out the game with an extra mana potion from landing a Q on towards Raphael. Never something you're going to be sad about for as an Ezreal?
No, absolutely not. Sustain is going to be a factor down towards this bottom lane, as none of these supports can add any extra sustain, apart from the Relic Shield, obviously. So Cookie gonna dance a little bit in the bush, happy about that. Atlantis really needs to step it up. No more breaks. They just need to make this happen. This is the game that could potentially decide it all.
I do have to say I like the Ryze here for Krogerson. He's starting with the Unsealed Spellbook, which is the standard choice. So we'll have the heal to get some stronger early 2v2s, but we'll swap out to the TP later on, and will thus have a way to match the TP of Eternity off towards a side lane in the mid game. So do you think Kroxen can make a lot of things happen on this Ryze? Not as vulnerable as Nasir to get a Camille jumping on top of him. Still, that Camille is going to be such a huge threat. Braum can try to keep her down, but it's going to be very hard with all the mobility and CC in her kit. So Svene really has to do a good job to keep her in control early on here.
Absolutely, and Svene has kind of handled his lanes so far, apart from game 1 when he was completely focused down, but still he handled the lane as best as he could. Game 2 he handled the lane, but just handling Finn has not been proven to be enough. Finn really needs to be shut down on his Camille, and right now I have a hard time to see how Atlantis are going to do that.
This might be the man to do it. Aesthetic right now, after clearing out his buff, is going to roam towards the top side. As I said, if Finn uses the hook shot in a trade with Svene and then Aesthetic can come in, could definitely be an opportunity for them to make something happen on towards Finn, but I'm not sure if top lane should be the focus for Aesthetic. Instead, he's going for his classical trademark Aesthetic invades right now. He does have pressure in the mid lane. He's jumping out towards Kronos.
Trademark pending as Kronos has to flash over the wall, but first blood together with the blue buff pickup goes to Kroxen.
Absolutely huge, getting blue buff on towards your Ryze at that point. Really big win for Atlantis, and this is what I've been talking about. Aesthetic on a carry jungler, really making his presence known early on. Kronos used the flash and wanted to use it in a fancy way and buys the wrong item. Kronos right now with the Dark Seal, he was looking to buy his jungle item and gets the wrong one instead. That is going to be a big mistake for him.
That is a huge problem now for Kronos. He is not an AP jungler, and even if he was, it would still have been probably been bad anyway. So Kronos there, a little bit confused. And this is something I've been waiting for a long time. Well, obviously not for Kronos to buy the wrong item, but for someone to invade Kronos. Because Kronos is really strong, he's a farming jungler, he goes for these big counter ganks, but being on the initiative against him really proved to be the thing to do, as Kronos did not expect Kroxen to be there as well and was completely caught out.
And we can see that Aesthetic took away the entire top side of Kronos' jungle. Kronos right now has no camps in his bottom side, no camps on Aesthetic's bottom side, so there is nothing for him to do. Aesthetic is a level and a half up on this Olaf. Huge lead in this jungle matchup, and he just wants to keep these invades going. But as we mentioned previously, if he is to keep these invades going, he needs his solo laners to have pressure in the respective lanes. He needs Svene and Kroxen to have the waves pushed up to be able to come in and help him if a jungle fight should start.
Sven is doing a good job at pushing in top lane together with Kroxen as well, who is pushing against Eternity. A last hit lead again in the hands of Atlantis in 2 lanes, top and mid lane. Bottom lane, though, struggling a little bit more versus the Tahm Kench Ezreal that PPK has been pulling out of the bag.
That is a bit of a surprise. TK Ezreal is a lane that should have little presence early on. Both of these champions like to play defensively and just keep safe. They're hard to gank, but won't be putting on too much pressure on towards Caitlyn and Braum in theory. In practice, however, it looks like they've been using that extra sustain that Cookie has been able to pick up from that Kleptomancy to good effect and pushing in Lion and Raphael. So definitely a good thing for PPK. There is Kroxen with the Realm Warp available. Ryze ulti coming in.
He's going in. Will he be able to find it? They get the root and they get the stun on KRP. There's no way for him he can get out of this. That is another kill for Atlantis. 2-0 now. A fantastic early game lead for this team.
Yeah, KRP walked up really far and actually used the flash before the Ryze could even come in after overcommitting right there. And Kroxen really making his presence known, getting the push in towards Eternity in the 1v1, and a great start for Atlantis. This is the game they want to play. Strong mid-jungle synergy and then aggressive plays on the opposing side of the map. Aesthetic's going to go for another invade onto Kronos, who is super low in the jungle.
Kronos so low, no flash. Aesthetic jumps in and he gets it! Another kill on the Raptors, as Kronos has no safety in his jungle and no lane pressure at all in mid lane, as Eternity has just recalled. And this is now Aesthetic's complete jungle, and his game is Lion now also in mid lane to force Eternity to back off.
Level 6 versus level 4 right now in the jungle. Aesthetic getting that first evolve as the Cossacks. Kronos was so sad with so much of his jungle taken away early on, and this is really the man to watch. And you can hear the hype building here in the studio. We're sitting just a couple of meters away from the players And you can hear Aesthetic getting so hyped when he was flashing in and killing Kronos right there. He's such a player that builds off momentum like this, so I'm expecting Aesthetic to do a great job this game on the Cossacks.
We mentioned earlier that none of these teams have played against each other, and they've been having, not to say an easy time throughout the tournament, but not losing many games. So neither of these teams actually are very good at playing from behind, or they're not used to it. So now for Atlantis to get this early lead is so important for the momentum, and also to mention again that this is 2-0 right now to PPK. Atlantis really needs to have this win if they can turn around to reverse sweep, but here it comes with a Hextech ultimatum. He's going to use his ultimate just for a second, but does not be able to hit it as the stun was there, and that is the first kill for PPK in a very important top lane where Finn looks to get fed and start snowballing.
Exactly the lane where PPK wants to get that snowball rolling, get Finn ahead, get Svenny behind. Svenny not using the TP using the flash right there and having the TP available. So with the summoner still available, no disaster for him right there, but still Kronos and Finn, good job. Getting this Camille ahead is going to be a big thing for them if they will be able to go toe-to-toe with Aesthetic, who is looking for some bottom side plays.
Very important to get Finn ahead as well to stop Aesthetic from being able to go for these very deep invades. Speaking of invades, here is Aesthetic stealing the blue buff as they knew Kronos was up top lane and had to recall. So getting something for something at least. Atlantis still in the lead. Almost 2k in the early stages of the game, but a lot of things can still happen.
Infernal Dragon is going to be the first one on the board, and it's going to be impactful for both teams since they both have at least 3 champions that uses Infernal Dragon quite well, and Aesthetic being able to pick that up. That is him continuing to dominate this 1v1 jungled matchup. Just needs to farm up a bit more, and then when he's able to go for something like a Duskblade, KRP and Cookie as well as Eternity on the PPK backline are going to be so scared of him.
Yeah, this is something they have to worry about. There are now 2 type of kind of deep diving assassin champions on both sides, both looking to get fed and to get snowballing to be able to handle the backline of either team. It's Aesthetic on his Kha'Zix and with the invisibility on one side, and on the other side, of course, we saw him earlier, it's Finn on his Camille.
Package is about to time out. Will he elect to use it right now on towards Svenny? He knows Aesthetic is here, so the answer is going to be no.
Yeah, I think so again. Just about to time out. Just going to use it to get to mid lane a little bit quicker. And again, Aesthetic not quite timing these packages together with the team. What I would have wanted was for them to set it up. So PPK has wards down, they know where Aesthetic is, they go where he is, and they go for a 3-man dive up top lane, or they go for a 4-man dive down bottom lane, and could easily get a turret or force something to happen. Instead, it's another wasted package.
Yeah, that is quite a big thing, and speaking of big things, before 10 minutes, first blood tower goes down in the bottom lane, and here's the fight in the river.
Big fight in the river, jump in by Aesthetic, and the flash is going to barely save Kronos. Again, Finn coming in, getting some damage off, actually turning it back again. Crogston having heal on him to save him for a second, but 2 versus 3 is not how you want to fight it, and Aesthetic has to run away from that, leaving Crogston's corpse behind.
Look at this, the Raphael and Lion are very quick on this rotation. They did not even recall, they're going straight to the mid lane, and Eternity is not here, does have the teleport though, so will be able to save the tower thanks to the summoner spell, but Lion and Raphael putting down a lot of pressure on this map, really making that first pick Caitlyn starting to look like it's worth it.
Yeah, Raphael has been very consistent on his Caitlyn, and now with such a good lane as they've been having against his Ezreal and Tahm Kench, they're actually quite far ahead. That is almost 20 CS up versus Cookie, together with the turret down bottom lane as well. So Atlantis still in the lead, although PPK managed to pick up a few kills here and there.
This is something that we have to expect when you're seeing a strong duo lane up against an Ezreal Tahm Kench, especially when Ezreal goes for the cull. With 88 CS right now, this is not a Cookie that's looking too happy. Sure, if this game goes like 35-40 minutes, he's going to be a big carry as he was in game 1, but right now, he's so scared of Raphael. He just wants to sit back, farm with the Mystic shots, and right now he can't even do that. Sitting really so scared on towards the map. We're looking at Aesthetic making some plays potentially towards the mid lane though.
Aesthetic is looking everywhere for something he can attack to use this advantage that he has built. It's 1 kill on each important individual on Team Atlantis. They got it in the jungle mid lane and on the bottom lane carry. Now pushing up the top lane. Cookie is alone up here. KRP is just now rejoining him. So turret is going to take some more damage, and they couldn't defend bottom turret 2 versus 2. I don't think they can defend top lane turret either.
Predator being used mid lane, but Kroxen just gonna run towards his team.
Kroxen moving towards the top lane. Teleport, though, coming in, gonna force the flash of Kroxen. Well, teleport was used, so Finn does not have that anymore. Another big attempt. PPK is putting down pressure. Forcing flash, though, on Ryze is very important.
And we can see here that Finn is actually falling behind on the CS. Is 10 CS down here at 12 minutes 30 seconds. That's not what we saw in the last game up against the Sion. He was up about 10 or 15 CS at this point, so Sven is definitely shaping up. Or this matchup might be even stronger for the Ornn compared to what it is for the Sion. Anyway, Finn is being kept down a lot more than he was in the last game at this point. So we'll see if Finn can still make the snowballing happen on the Camille.
I'm very happy to see that Atlantis kind of been ignoring Finn yet again, but putting even more pressure down on the other lanes. As I mentioned before, bot lane, mid lane, and jungle all got the kills. They all got the extra pressure. They get the bot lane turret, they get the top lane turret. And Finn, sure, he's doing good, but he is behind in CS now because he had to swap lane because the pressure was coming from the bottom lane of Atlantis. And now, again, even though he's pushing down bottom lane, he still has to be worried about the rest of the team. Caught under the turret now, turning it back together with Kronos. Will be able to pick this up as Kronos just runs through the ultimate of Svenny. Under the turret, though, Svenny survives it for a long time, but finally there it is with the underthrow, and there is Kronos with the kill.
Here comes Lion. Can he do something in a 1 versus 2 as the support Braum?
He has flash, he has ignite. Can he go for it? No, he's not gonna try. Hookshot was available, so he probably knew that was a bad idea. I would have gone for it, but I am a scrub. Well, so, I mean, that doesn't really say anything.
Maybe not the best measurement of whether a move is proper in a game like this, so Lion's just gonna be backing off right there. I do like that Kronos is starting to make some things happen on towards the map, has caught up to Aesthetic in terms of levels, and it's getting Finn to a slight advantage. This is the power spike we talked about last time around. 2 Triforces completed, package has just been picked up for Eternity, and Infernal Dragon is just about to spawn. This is the exact moment where PPK really wants to take a fight if they can get it on their own terms.
Smart move by Atlantis, using the Rift Helmet, going now for the fight at PPK, chasing down Raphael, being knocked up in the air, having exhaust bombing, still surviving for a long time, but finally going down. Now turning onto Lion instead, does not have Unbreakable, being auto-attacked down by Eternity. That's the double kill, forcing the flash by Athletic as well. Now turning it back onto Svenny. Rift Herald doing some damage on the turret, but what does that even matter when you kill the entire enemy team? That's 3-4-0 for PPK using that big power spike.
And that we've not been impressed by the packages so far for Eternity, but that package just made up for all the other ones, cutting the enemy team in half and then going in for the damage on towards the backline. 3-4-0 and Infernal Dragon going over to PPK. Aesthetic had put Atlantis into a substantial advantage after like the first 10 minutes, but PPK just started to punch their ticket back into this game.
Important to note that Atlantis still have the gold lead. They still had the gold lead. They had some control in mid lane, but the power spike of PPK was just too strong for them to handle.
And they used that beautifully with all the engages coming in. Kroxen was not even there. He was on the other side of the map trying to come in without the TP and his summoner spells, instead having gone for the Ghost. There was no way for him to support that fight. Still Raphael and Lion putting pressure towards the mid lane. Won't be able to get it on this wave, but mid lane tower being this low means that there is some extra gold and map control there to pick up for Atlantis.
I'm happy to see that Atlantis aren't faltering just because they lost a fight. They lost 3 members. They do have a Ryze, they do have a Caitlyn. Neither of these champions spike in the early game. You see Rice now with 5 stacks on the Road of Ages. He has a tier that's probably about to get fully stacked, but still no Archangel Staff, still no Seraph's Embrace, which will be the next step for it, as Raphael also on 1.5 items. They're not very strong right now, but when they spike, it's going to be hard. So PPK really needs to keep this momentum going.
With the mid lane tower going over to Raphael, he is really the position where the gold lead is the biggest. 1.3k gold, that is a BF sword that is up on towards Cookie, who has gone for the Cull as well, which is really an item that you're going to get a lot of benefit of in the long run, but right now you're actually 17 minutes in and 52 stacks still onto that, so he's not stacking that Cull quickly, not getting too much free farming. Svene is going to be dove here by Kronos, who pops the Predator.
Yeah, Kronos popping Predator, chasing Svene just away from the turret, going to allow Eternity to get it, and actually donating that tower lost hit to Kronos. Just for being a good buddy down bottom lane. Finn is pushing in as well. So now PPK finally get their first turret, about to get their second as well. Very important to get the global gold back, as Atlantis has been sitting on their 3 turrets for quite some time now.
Midland fight, Aesthetics jumping in.
Oh, that is a big fight, and quickly makes short work of Cookie together with Kerp as well, as they were way too far up and were completely caught out. Atlantis now with the bot lane of PPK down. Can they get some more?
Aesthetic had been chilling out for a while, but with level 10, with the lethality completed, he went for the dive. Speaking of dives though,
Crogston going for a dive in mid lane, down bottom lane. Finn dives and get the turret as well, forcing Svenne to back off. The turret bottom lane for PPK still chasing down Svenne. Finn misses the hook shot, just turning back, getting some harass off as Svenne got his shield back. And Crogston barely survived that fight in the mid lane. Turret still standing. Here comes the Aesthetic though.
Yeah, this is the strength of Moby Boots. Kha'Zix, he's so fast. Doesn't want to go for Finn though.
Still a little bit too scared. Finn with 1 kill and 5 assists at the Trinity Force. Even with 3 kills on Aesthetic, he doesn't really dare to go for the 1-1. Of course, Finn had his ultimate up, so that probably was the reason. Here comes a little bit of a dive, but Cookie is the one tanking it.
Oh!
Aesthetic coming up from the side. He gets the quick pick on Eternity, jumping away, being chased down by Kronos. Kronos has to back off as well, as Raphael now backing on the backline. Oh, good reaction from Finn to get the shield up in time to save Raphael from some of that damage. Will allow Raphael to stick around in mid lane.
Yeah, Lion's been solid throughout this series. He's never made these huge plays, but it's always been where he is supposed to. Meanwhile, Aesthetic is showing the strength of Moby Boots.
Oh, Aesthetic! He face checks the bush. That's the shutdown, a very important shutdown as well for PPK. Donating the goal to Kronos. Aesthetic still very strong. He is definitely on the big carry jungler of the rest of the team. Atlantis, they are kind of faltering. PPK again now using Corki together with the special delivery to make sure they get the turret. Finally tied. 3 turrets each.
It's almost tied in gold as well. PPK with a 300 gold lead at 20 minutes. That is such a small difference. Same dragons for each team as well. So this game is really as close as a game 3 is supposed to be. A lot of the gold for Atlantis is on Aesthetic though, compared to the gold for PPK, where a lot is on Eternity and Finn. So these solo laners really putting on some pressure. And speaking of pressure, Finn right now in towards the bottom side with a TP available, could go for something.
Well, here they go, but finally, well, I have been saying that the package has not been put to very good use, but that was a good use of the package, although it wasn't really what I meant when I talked about it earlier. But Eternity gets out of a sticky situation up top lane.
And I'm waiting for Finn to really get going on this Camille. He was the one making the plays happen last time around with the big engages on this champion. At the moment, he is sitting at a pretty strong point compared to Svenne, but he's not electing to stay down in the bottom lane to win out in the 1 versus 1 too hard. Instead, it seems like he's trying to kind of roam on the map, kind of stay towards the 1v1. I want to see him go down bottom lane. I want to see him put down so much pressure on towards Svenne. He actually has the TP advantage as well, so that's definitely something that you can go for, since Svenne has to be really careful since he can TP into a potential Baron fight.
That is something they have to worry about. Definitely with Svenne on Ornn. Has been the one to start off the fight. But speaking of Svenne, versus Finn down here. You can see him lose out this 1 versus 1 very heavily, forcing the flash even as Finn, which is farming his HP up, going for the Hydra this time around. So this is still, even though it's not the same type of Camille that we saw in Game 2, I mean, Finn is really pushing Svenny hard down bottom lane.
Very well played with that hookshot to interrupt the Call of the Forge God reactivation from Svenny. Gets the stun, and as Svenny wants to use that second part of the ultimate and denies that, means that he's going to get tower damage. He's hitting the bottom lane tower right now. Not sure if he's going to be able to get it. It's going to be taking a lot of damage, and I believe it's going to go down to Finn with a Triforce putting down a bunch of damage. And this is a gold lead going over to PPK right now, who are also going to be getting a Cloud Dragon, but this means that Atlantis gets control of the Baron.
Atlantis got control of Baron. PPK hesitating around Dragon. Now it's Atlantis. They got complete ward control. PPK does not see anything. So they're gonna suspect that the Baron has been started. But Atlantis moves out. Can't three-man a Baron at this point, even with Ryze and Caitlyn. Oh, Eternity in a bad spot. Juking back and forth, flashing away, but a complete misuse of the flash. Will waste it, he goes down anyway. Kerp saving his jungler, but will he have to sacrifice his own life? One more auto attack will stun him, not going to be able to. Here comes the call of the Forge God. Not going to be able to finish him off. As Atlantis, though, they find the one pick they needed. Finn, on the other hand, down bottom lane, going for inhibitor turret, 23 minutes in. I don't think Atlantis can go for Baron. They have to recall. They have to do something right now because they are stuck in a bad spot. As Static now chasing down Kerp. Can he get it? He actually manages to. Gets another one as well. No, not quite, as Kronos just barely survives. Red buff is ticking. Not going to be able to finish him off. Gonna force him away though, so Baron's still available. Do they have what it takes? Finn is about to take the inhibitor. 23 minutes in. He gets it solo. No more mana. Barely gets away as Svenny does not have his ultimate, but Baron will go to Atlantis. That's inhibitor for Baron, and again, gold is tied in about as even as a game can be.
Wow, absolutely neck and neck these teams. 24 minutes in, Baron buff for inhibitor. Not sure who actually comes out on top right there. I do believe it is Atlantis if they are able to use this Baron buff as good as they are supposed to with a comp like this, and really aesthetic. He is showing up. He's been quiet 2 games in a row on the Olaf, goes for the Kha'Zix in the potentially last game of the tournament and does such a good job of catching out the enemy team around the bushes. You can, of course, also question PPK. Should they be overcommitting alone next to the bushes where Kha'Zix can come in with the invisibility and the mobility boots? But Static doesn't care. He's just picking up kills left, right, and center. 6 and 1 right now. Double the kills of anyone else in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Aesthetic has been the big difference now for this game. Huge difference as well in comparison to game 1 and 2 on his Olaf, where he didn't quite do that much. After the top lane, a lot of power difference now has happened with Ornn having the Baron buff. As Finn actually had to flash away in that situation, and now being found by Aesthetic. Can Aesthetic get this 1 versus 1? He will be able to. The stun is there, but there is not enough damage, although that was a huge burst. That is another kill for Aesthetic, now up 7 kills in his team. Finally, the shutdown, though, on Aesthetic. A fantastic ultimate by Cookie, who's been the backline hero for this game. We haven't talked too much about him, apart from him buying the cull earlier and kind of falling behind. But picking up the shutdown on Aesthetic is going to put him on equal footing again with Raphael.
Yeah, good true barrage right there. Also think it was extremely funny when Finn recalled, sold his Merc Threads, bought Ninja Taba immediately after getting killed by Aesthetic. Does not want any more of that on this Camille, so really just building for the 1v1 right now. Aesthetic on this Kha'Zix will have a tough time. I mean, I'm saying when we go later on, we are already kind of late into the game. As we got like 35-40 minutes when KRP is there to support the big carries of his team to eat them and get them away. Once there's a Knight's Vow, once there's a Locket, it's going to be quite hard for Aesthetic to find these sort of assassinations, but he's been doing such a good job of it so far. 7 and 2, Moby Boots Kha'Zix. This is the jungle carry that I wanted to see from Aesthetic.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at a Kha'Zix, you really want him to use this power spike for as long as possible because, as you mentioned, it's very hard to get into the team fights later where everyone is so tanky. You have versus a Tom Kench. You can't really go versus the Olaf or the Camille. But right now, it's static all over the map, just being that huge nuisance.
Finn is a bit careful towards the sides of the map, up against a Ryze that's about to finish his Rabadon's death cap. Might not be the 1v1 you want to take after you've just sold your Merc Threads for Tabai, so Finn has to be slightly careful. I would love to see Finn contribute more to the team fights. As we're going to come in to the next Baron setup, to the next Dragon setup, to the next big team fight, I'd love to see Finn be a part of that rather than just farming up on towards the side and putting on pressure there. Because with all the utility and mobility that you have on this Camille, it's definitely something that you can do.
Absolutely. A big problem right now for PPK is that with the inhibitor dead down bottom lane, with Finn unable to 1 versus 1 completely, or rather have to worry about the 2 versus 1 with a static around the bushes, not being able to get the ward control to know where he is at all times. It's really hard for them to find any lane where Finn really can go and side push. Bottom lane now denying them all the farm. The minions are just pushing. There is no way that Finn can farm that far up. And he went to top lane instead. But still, these are minions. This is gold that is not going anywhere for PPK.
That is a very important point there, Sang. Sven has been able to free farm this wave and now caught up in CS to Finn. So not able to use that inhib going down too well. On the other hand, though, Atlantis just took a Baron and were not able to get any big objectives because they were using that bottom lane to get pushed in, so they had to stay towards the bottom lane to defend the inhibitor.
Yeah, the inhibitor will respawn soon, but that is true that at least the inhibitor has stopped the Baron bot from having any huge impact. No available big power plays for Atlantis, as they had to worry about Finn just walking in and getting inhibitor, or getting rather next turrets as well. But now they're still going for a fight here. It's going to delay a little bit. PPK taking some poke there on Eternity, as well as no Ragnarok available for Kronos. Inhibitor now finally has respawned. Atlantis up top lane, 4 versus 5. PPK still not really wanting to pull the trigger as they know Svenny has his teleport up.
Absolutely right there. And we do see, as we take a bit of a more look towards the items, a lot of armor getting built up for the side of PPK. There are 4 Ninja Tabais. There is an armor-focused build for Kronos, which in theory is a good choice. It really shuts down the lethality that Aesthetic is focusing on, as well as forcing Raphael to go towards the Last Whisper later on. But Kroxin is in a death cap Ryze. He's going to be so big. We'll have to talk about that later, though.
Aesthetic's mobility is huge. Finn has to run away. There he is. Look at the slow as well onto him as soon as Aesthetic hits that first Q. And there is Finn running away for his life, not using any summoner spells. Very important, of course. But wow, Aesthetic is huge at the moment.
And just the speed of the Kha'Zix, Moby Boots plus the ultimate evolve giving you so much move speed. It's so hard for Finn off towards the side, and he needs to be really careful at all times, unless it's a proper ward coverage. And look at the minimap right now, there is not enough ward coverage for Finn in the bottom side to push up for to try and punish Svenne in this 1v1. He really needs to hold on to that hook shot at all times, and that means that Svenne will be able to stay toe-to-toe with him in the 1v1.
Yeah, Svenne has been able to just hold on, although, of course, they did lose every bot lane turret. That was a team choice as they went for the Baron instead. But Svenne, even without any turrets, has been able to hold on, no problem now versus Finn, which is a big problem, I think, for PPK, as they, again, are putting a lot of pressure onto Finn to make something happen in the side lane.
Yeah, I said they didn't really have a way of dealing with this Camille, but it's going to be... We're going to be seeing here if Atlantis has it, because Ryze is coming in to punish Finn here.
Yeah, Finn out of position. Does not avoid the ultimate. No hook shot either. The CC chain is too strong. At the same time, PPK tries to force a fight in mid lane and has to back out immediately as Kroxin still had ultimate even after that fight bottom lane.
Nice call from Atlantis. That's exactly what you want to do against split pushing Camille and Finn. Really overcommitting without the proper vision. KRP tried to punish, but not enough at all right there. So Atlantis starting to take big advantage right now. Baron is live right now. Finn is up in 25 seconds, so there is some time for Atlantis that they have a lot of...
Oh no! Eternity again just walks into a static. and gets instantly deleted. Aesthetic now again invisible, looking for the backline. He finds a little bit of damage onto Cookie. Can he be able to survive? It kicks out again. It's Cookie, good response, but the Baron still is wide open for the taking, and Atlantis has their name written on it.
Wow, really big plays there from Aesthetic. He's having a lot of fun right now. You can see him just running from bush to bush, picking up kill to kill. Couple of questionable flashes, I've got to say. KRP flashing onto Aesthetic and then missing the Q, and then Aesthetic flashing onto the Baron to secure it when there was no enemies close. Still, big lead for Atlantis, 5k as well as a Baron right now.
Atlantis in a completely different situation from game 2. Not in a complete snowball position, but with all of this gold in the hands of Aesthetic, and with Eternity being caught out 3 times now. This is a big problem for PPK, and it's actually starting to become a problem that might cost them the game. They cannot allow themselves to be caught out of position with such a pick potential that the team of Atlantis has. With Rise, they have so much mobility on the map. With the extra movement speed from Kha'Zix, they also have that mobility to go for the side lanes and then immediately go back towards the fights again. And PPK just does not have the ward coverage to handle it.
Yeah, we've been praising PPK for the vision in the first couple of games. Right now, they have a decent amount of wards in their own jungle set up to be able to just stay safe under their towers and shut down Aesthetic, but you can't really blame someone like KRP for this, because you really can't go in solo to ward your own jungle when you know Aesthetic could be there on this cut. He can one-shot pretty much anyone on PPK right now.
And also Atlantis, they have the power spikes now that they need. They have the late game Rise, they have a late game Caitlyn. Working on 4th item now, Rise with the death cap, with the Seraph's Embrace, together with the fully stacked Roll of Ages. This is so much damage, even for the front line of PPK to handle. And as an Olaf, I mean, sure, you are quite tanky for the mid game, but trying to run in with the Ragnar towards the bot, the back line, at this point, 33 minutes in, as a death sentence.
That is definitely going to be true for Kronos, and we've not been seeing the Olafs in this series impress too much. In theory, in some of the games, it's a great pick in terms of both the early game dueling potential that you have, strong, quick, clear early on, very good dueling, and then able to just wreak havoc on the enemy backline, as then an AD carry can't really get away from the Olaf. No CC from the support will be able to shut him down. But so far in this series, neither Aesthetic nor Kronos has been doing too good of a job on this bearded Viking here in the Nordic Championships, after all.
Aesthetic hiding out in the jungle. PPK can't even get close to him. Eternity has tried. Eternity again, actually moving up towards top lane. He is caught by Aesthetic again. I'm calling it. A little bit of a skirmish as Lion jumps in to make sure Aesthetic doesn't take too much damage. Eternity up top lane. Here comes the ultimate by Svenny. Going in for the tower dive now. Ragnarok used to get out as Kronos is the first one to leave the fight. But the focus is still on the turret as it goes down. There comes the Glacial Fissure falling on up. The Ragnarok are timed out. And that is a clean kill for Atlantis, picking up the bottom lane as Kerp was the one who went down, saving his jungler. Now it's Eternity trying to get some poke off, but inhibitor top lane going down for Atlantis, making it look easy.
Well, there was a TP ward behind for Finn. He could have TP'd in towards the top lane and tried to go for a flank in a big fight, but in the end, they were happy with just getting one death onto KRP and then moving back. Still lost the inhib and I think lost one more tower than the inhib towers, so quite a good Baron power play for Atlantis. We're now going to be keep scaling up, and as we're going towards late game, it's hard to say that either team is favored. Of course, in theory, this Camille is going to be putting down so much pressure on the Ornn in the 1v1 at this point with the 3 items. She's going to be able to really punish him, but Svenny's been doing a good job of keeping up in the 1v1 with Finn so far. He's actually ahead in levels right now for, I believe, the first time in the game. So, gotta say these teams are looking real close, although Atlantis has a somewhat of a large goal lead.
Atlantis has quite a large goal lead, of course, being 35 minutes into the game. The goal difference doesn't matter as much as the items are still there on your opponents as well. See Cookie having the Muramana, having the Blade of the Ruined King together with the Iceborne Gauntlet and Quicksilver Sash. will not be caught out easily. There's no way to Quicksilver out of the brute damage that comes out of Aesthetic. And Eternity also on his Corki has kind of just been the wave clearer of the team. Not doing too much at the moment as the next turret is about to go down.
Are they going to look for a fight here?
Going for the fight again as Atlantis just forcing PPK to back off. And PPK still not wanting to take the fight, although I wonder when will they take the fight?
They're just losing more and more. They have to do something. Try and get a flank with Finn. Try and get a flank with Kronos, maybe a TP in behind with KRP, because right now you're just losing more and more of your base. Second inhib is taking damage. I think PPK has to do something, or are they going to be giving this up?
I don't know, actually. Like, PPK are faltering right now. They're giving the inhibitor up. That's the second inhibitor in just a couple of minutes. Top inhibitor down, pushing in with super minions. Bot inhibitor also down now. No available way to flank anymore as Atlantis are backing off. Only mid lane turret still standing.
Yeah, you could on one hand, though, praise the patience there for PPK. They gave up 2 inhibs, but they also did not take a fight versus the big power spikes of Atlantis. 50 seconds until 2 very big objectives, though, Baron and Elder Dragon. Elder Dragon's going to be pretty big for both of these teams, as they do have 2 of the Elemental Dragons, 1 of the Infernal variant. We could see a very interesting scenario with 1 team going for the Baron and 1 team going for the Elder Dragon. That is something that we could be going for right now. It's going to be a very big decision either way. 25 seconds until both of these big objectives start to show themselves on the map.
I think PPK wants to take whichever objective that Atlantis doesn't. They can take the Baron or the Elder Dragon fairly quickly, so they shouldn't have to worry too much about it. If you can sneak it and make sure they take it quickly enough, they could avoid a fight. And it seems like they just want to have some kind of extra power before they want to go for a fight. It would be a Baron, would be an Elder Dragon.
I agree with you. I think that PPK could actually go for the Elder now. Oh!
Oh, Svenne is the main focus. Glacial Fisher, not enough to save him. Now chasing it down. Finn jumping in. Already used his ultimate. Has to use the extra little Asonias to stay alive. But the huge damage from Aesthetic. Aesthetic is the one that shuts Eternity. Still gets the kill on Roxanne though. Raphael dangerously low, avoiding all of the DPS. Here comes Aesthetic again. Fantastic reaction. Will save Cookie as Kerp is the one sacrificing himself again together with Finn, being able to save his team and get out of an otherwise really bad spot. 2 for 2 in a huge team fight 40 minutes into the game.
Wow.
Oh no!
Aesthetic!
It's not over yet! Aesthetic picks up the double kill! He gets another one! He gets the Kronos as well! That's it! That must be the game! That is the shutdown as Aesthetic with 10 kills! 40 minutes in! Super Minions onto the Nexus turrets! He wins the game for the team! Aesthetic, the huge jungle carry! The main man! 10 kills and the win for Atlantis! And yet another shot at winning this final!
This game's gonna end the way that it started. Aesthetic on this Cossacks coming up really big. Flashes into the face of Finn, and I was not sure if they had any way of dealing with a Camille, and Aesthetic just says, yes, we have. Shuts him down with the Cossacks.
How do you deal with a Camille that deals tons of damage? You pick Kha'Zix, who also deals tons of damage.
And then you flash in her face.
Yes, you flash into her face and you say, that's enough. I'm taking this game and win it. But seriously, that was an incredible finish.
You called it, you asked for it, you got it. Kha'Zix, carry jungler from Aesthetic, and he made his mark from the get-go. An early invade, shutting down the Olaf, getting a blue buff onto his rise, and from there he just kept the pressure up, kept getting kills, and kept driving home the power of that Kha'Zix in 1v1 situations.
Yeah, such a strong snowballing champion with boots of mobility, with the ultimate evolve. You have so much movement, so many movements options around the jungle. You can see him just going from bush to bush, still stealth at all times, going super quickly. So you really have to be so careful of this Kha'Zix once he gets snowballing. And we saw a couple of times PPK not quite respecting that enough. Eternity got caught a couple of times on the Corki, for example.
Let's have a look at the replays and see some of those moments in action. There's plenty of opportunities too, though, where PPK were getting some fights, getting some kills, maybe you have to swing it back. But as you say, not respecting the Kha'Zix staying too long, and he'd come in, clean up, and swing it straight back into Atlantis' favor.
Yeah, I mean, this one was what started it all. Just Kronos being caught out, finally going for the invade versus the jungler.
This was a good attempt from PPK though. They had some big power spikes, they had the package as well. I like what they did here with 2 Triforces and the package to divide the team, getting 2 kills, I believe right here, maybe even getting 3. So they had definitely some points where they were able to come back into the fight. Aesthetic to just not walk all over them, but in the end, PPK was not enough.
No, absolutely. PPK had the early game, and they got these big fights. They were really good at it, but look here at Aesthetic just jumping in for the late fight there. Kerp goes first, able almost to get out, but look at Aesthetic. Look at his mobility here. He's chasing them down when they think they're safe, and then just finishing it off.
That was kind of the story of, you say, everything beyond that early game. It was, all right, we've stabilized, we've got a couple of kills, we can good. Oh god, Kha'Zix is still here, and he would just roll off them all anyway, and clean them up in that very last fight because of it too. They got Raphael so low through many portions of that tiny last engagement, but Braum was always there, right in front of him, sank up and tanked up the last bit of damage. He made his lifesteal full health again, just as Kha'Zix comes back in. And if the same thing around the Barons, they fought for vision control, they jockeyed back and forth, and then Corki would just be left a little bit out of position, and Kha'Zix took advantage of it. Or down in the bottom lane, you had Camille, who was comfortable going, oh, 1v1, I can win these, I can win. Kha'Zix is on top of me, and I can't win this one anymore. It's the X factor they didn't have in the first 2 games. It's back there now, and they really made great use of it. We're going to run to another quick break, and when we come back, we'll be into game number 4. Atlantis have awoken. They are finally ready to start playing, and we may have a series on our hands. It's 2-1 to PPK, but there's still all to play for. Don't go anywhere.